All right, diving into a world that might seem, well, a little dry, deposition summaries.
Yeah, not exactly front page news.
Right. But I think when you're a lawyer, and you're thinking about outsourcing this kind of crucial task, I mean, you want to make sure those summaries are, detailed enough to actually use them to build a case
Right,
fast.
absolutely. I mean, you don't want to miss those little things that could really change things.
Exactly. So we've got a ton of research here, expert opinions, trying to unpack all of this, the how-tos, the risks, the benefits.
Well, and what's fascinating to me is, you think about these summaries and they sound so basic, but sometimes there's this tiny little detail buried in a witness testimony that can completely shift a case. Like a seemingly unimportant comment about, the weather that day.
Edge
And totally, boom, it becomes this linchpin in a personal injury case. Or maybe the way a witness kind of hesitates or changes their tone when they're talking about a specific event.
Mm.
And that raises all sorts of questions about their credibility.
Hmm.
So, it's not just about summarizing what was said, but really capturing those nuances, those unspoken things.
You're saying it's not just about summarizing, it's about like capturing those subtle things, the
Exactly.
things that make or break a case.
Yeah, and that's where this fear of outsourcing comes in. Can someone outside your firm really grasp like the weight of these details? And I think that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And we see this all over legal forums, social media.
It's a big question. So what's the research say? What are we seeing out there about how to make sure these summaries, if you do outsource them, are as detailed as they need to be?
Well, one of the first things is to understand how these technologies actually work. We hear about AI and machine learning,
Right. Buzzwords.
but what does that mean for an actual deposition summary? Imagine this. You've got algorithms that are designed to just comb through pages and pages of testimony. They're looking for key phrases, recurring themes. They can even flag potential contradictions in a witness's statement.
So it's like a digital detective sort of scanning for clues.
Exactly.
But how does the algorithm know what to even look for?
That's where the human element comes in. Legal professionals, they actually train these algorithms. They feed them massive amounts of data, showing them what to look for, teaching them to recognize those patterns. So it's like the software is identifying the pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's the human legal expert who then takes those pieces and puts them together.
Into an actual usable summary.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like robots are replacing lawyers.
Yeah, no,
It's more like giving them a tool. Right.
it's giving them a tool to be faster, more efficient, and focus on those higher level tasks.
Okay, so then how does this whole customization thing work? Because you're not just getting a summary of everything.
No. That's the beauty of it. You can actually tailor the output to your specific needs. So let's say, for example, you're working on a contract dispute.
Okay.
You could actually tell the service, hey, focus on any statements that relate to, these specific clauses in the contract, or flag any instance where a witness's testimony goes against what's in the written agreement.
So you're literally telling them, "Hey, pay attention to this. I need to know about this specific thing."
Exactly. You're guiding the process. You're using the technology and the human expertise to make sure the summary is zeroing in on what really matters.
So you're summarizing intelligently.
You got it.
But, I mean, you got to have a lot of trust in the people on the other end, right? The people actually putting these summaries together.
Oh, 100%. Expertise is crucial. You want to make sure whoever's handling these depositions, they are experienced legal professionals who understand that legal language,
Yeah.
the way it's used, who can spot a shift in someone's tone, their demeanor, and can actually say, you know what, this seemingly small detail, this is actually really important.
So how can a firm make sure that they're getting that? I mean, lawyers are busy. They can't interview every single person.
Right. And that's where things like sample summaries come in. Testimonials from other clients. Most reputable services will gladly give you some examples of their work so you can get a feel for their style, the detail they provide, and whether they're really catching those important nuances.
It's like a test drive, but for deposition summaries.
Exactly. And clear communication from the get-go.
Oh, for sure.
Being upfront about what you expect,
Yeah.
the level of detail, and those specific areas you want to highlight. That's key.
So everyone's on the same page right from the start.
Right from the start. So you minimize the risk of miscommunication or missing something crucial.
That's smart. Makes a lot of sense.
And speaking of making sure things are accurate, this quality assurance thing, I mean, it's one thing to have really skilled summarizers, but how do you actually make sure it's consistent? that they catch those little errors that could, snowball into something bigger down the road.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's something that I think keeps a lot of lawyers up at night, right? You're handing over this crucial information. How you know for sure they're not going to miss something?
Right. And that's where those robust quality control processes are so important. We're not talking about a quick proofread here.
No, no, no.
We're talking about multiple layers of review,
Yeah.
peer checks where another legal expert looks it over, or even, you've got specialized software now that can flag inconsistencies, things that are missing.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like catching typos. It's really making sure that the analysis is sound, that nothing important's been overlooked.
Precisely. And those extra layers of scrutiny, huge difference. I mean, studies show that these peer-reviewed summaries, they're much more accurate,
Interesting.
more detailed.
Than the ones that don't go through that rigorous review. It's like having a second set of expert eyes on there.
You got it.
So it's like a safety net for your case prep.
It is. And it brings up another interesting point, this whole ethical consideration of outsourcing legal work.
Oh, okay. So now we're getting into some maybe tricky territory.
Well, it's important to acknowledge that it does, raise some questions, even in the legal field.
Right.
Client confidentiality, making sure that data is secure, and, even what it means for the legal profession itself.
So it's not just find a good service and we're good. It's bigger than that, right? It's the implications of it all.
Exactly. I mean, for example, firms need to be really, really careful about choosing those providers who actually prioritize these things, who are using data encryption, have really secure storage, really strict confidentiality protocols. Because you're handing them really sensitive information.
Right.
And there can't be any room for error there.
It's got to be done right. It's got to be done right.
So it's not just getting the job done. It's getting it done ethically.
Ethically, responsibly. Due diligence is key here.
Yeah. Makes sense. And I imagine this is a question that comes up a lot. How does this impact the legal profession in the long run?
Right. I mean, some people argue, well, this AI-powered summarization, this could lead to job displacement, paralegals, junior associates.
Right.
Others say, no, it frees them up to do more complex tasks. The tasks that really require that human judgment, that creativity.
So it's not black and white.
It's not black and white at all.
It's a complex thing.
It's complex. There's potential benefits, drawbacks. You got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah. And it makes me think about access, too. Like, could this actually make legal services more accessible to people?
That's a really interesting point. And some argue that it could.
Well, think about it. If these AI-powered tools make legal research analysis, more efficient, more affordable, it could allow smaller firms, solo practitioners, to compete with those big firms that traditionally have a lot more resources.
Interesting. Leveling the playing field a little bit.
Exactly. Making these sophisticated tools accessible to more people.
Ah.
And, it's important to remember, even though this technology is advancing so quickly, there will always be a need for human judgment, for expertise.
Oh, sure.
The key is finding that balance, right? AI can enhance what we do.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, not replace us.
So it's AI and humans.
It's AI and humans working together.
For those best outcomes.
Exactly. And that collaborative approach, that's really what we're talking about when we talk about successful outsourcing. Finding a provider that you trust, you're on the same page, and really making sure this technology is being used ethically, responsibly to meet those legal goals.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, We talked about the technical side of it, customization. We talked about ethics, how this whole thing could impact the legal profession. This is not a simple business decision.
No.
This is a big decision.
This is a big decision.
And I think, we haven't even talked about the practical stuff yet.
Right.
Time saving. What does that look like in an actual law firm? What's the impact?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge benefit for a lot of firms.
Yeah.
Streamlining that case preparation, freeing up those legal teams.
Yeah.
To focus on, the more strategic things.
The big picture.
The big picture.
Yeah.
Instead of just spending all this time reading through transcripts, lawyers can actually, dedicate that time to developing strategies, conducting additional investigations, or spending time with clients, building those relationships.
So it's not just saving time to save time. It's about using that time more wisely.
Exactly.
To ultimately benefit the client.
Exactly.
Potentially make their case even stronger.
Right. And this efficiency can, kind of have a domino effect.
Yeah. How so?
Well, I mean, cases move forward more quickly. Lawyers can handle more cases.
Right.
Without feeling completely overwhelmed. The firm can take on more clients. generate more revenue.
So it's like a win-win.
It's a
Work
win-win.
efficiency, potentially better results for those clients.
Absolutely.
But, I gotta ask, what about cost? I mean, I imagine some firms might think, oh, outsourcing, that just adds another expense.
Right. And that's a common concern, but in reality, it can actually be super cost effective.
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. You're basically trading that high hourly rate of a lawyer for a specialized team that can do it much faster
Oh, okay.
and likely at a lower cost per page,
So you're saying you could get higher quality work
potentially.
at a lower cost,
Right.
which then frees up your legal team.
To do those higher value tasks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Compelling argument.
It is. And it's important to remember, cost saving shouldn't mean you're sacrificing quality. That's why it's so important to choose that provider that's got a good price,
Right.
but also isn't cutting corners. Who's got the expertise, those ethical standards?
You got to find that sweet spot.
You got to find that
Yeah.
sweet spot.
Okay. But I mean, let's be real. Some lawyers are probably pretty resistant to all this.
Yeah.
They've always done things a certain way. Change is hard.
Change is hard. But the legal profession is changing
Yeah.
quickly. And embracing these new technologies, these new approaches, it's essential. If you want to stay competitive, if you want to give your clients that best possible service.
It's not about abandoning the old ways.
No.
It's finding ways to do it better.
Exactly. Enhance what you're already doing.
Yeah.
Do it more efficiently. Do it more effectively.
Without, sacrificing those ethics, those standards.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk strategies. What are some key things that firms need to keep in mind if they're thinking about going down this road?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to really define those needs
Okay.
and those expectations. What level of detail are you looking for? What specific areas of the deposition do you really want that summarizer to focus on? What format do you want for those final summaries?
Right.
I mean, the clearer you are about what you need up front,
Good.
the better the chance you're going to get something that really works for you.
So it's like a blueprint for the process, but I mean, I imagine that blueprint might need to change.
Right.
Cases evolve, new info comes up, priorities shift. How do you make it so it's not too rigid?
Right. And that's where communication is key, that collaboration with the provider. You got to be able to give feedback, clear up any confusion, adjust the scope of work as needed.
So it's not set it and forget it. It's an ongoing conversation.
It's an ongoing dialogue
Yeah.
to make sure everyone's on the same page and that those summaries are, kind of changing with the case.
They're evolving with it.
Evolving, exactly. And this open communication, it's essential for addressing another big concern, quality control.
Mm-hmm.
How do you actually make sure these summaries are accurate, that they're insightful, and that they meet those standards? We touched on this earlier.
Yeah, those quality control processes. But let's dig in a little more. What are some specific steps that firms can take?
Well, one thing is to set those quality benchmarks from the very beginning, like providing sample summaries that show, okay, this is the level of detail, this is the kind of clarity, this is the type of analysis that we're expecting.
So you're basically showing them what good looks like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's important to go beyond just giving them examples. Really articulate those expectations for, how the summary should be organized, the level of legal analysis, identifying those key themes, those contradictions in the testimony.
So you're having a conversation about what quality actually means.
You're having a conversation.
No room for misinterpretations.
Exactly. And that sets the stage for that ongoing feedback, that refinement. Don't be afraid to, give constructive criticism.
Yeah.
To say, hey, this could be improved. This could be more insightful.
Right.
It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
It's back and forth.
But lawyers, I mean, they're busy. How do they find time to do all this feedback communication?
Right. And that's why it's so important to find that provider that gets it.
Yeah.
That understands the demands of the profession and is really committed to making this process as easy as possible.
So it's not just finding a service, it's finding a partner,
It's finding a partner.
a team that's in it with you.
Absolutely. And that collaborative approach, it goes beyond just the communication, the feedback. It's about finding that provider that can be flexible, that can adapt to your needs. Because as the case goes on, you might realize, oh, we need the summaries to really focus on this specific issue, or, we need more analysis on this particular witness.
Yeah, it's not a one size fits all.
Not a one size fits all. You
Yeah.
need that provider that can move with the case.
Okay, so we've talked about, defining your needs, those quality benchmarks, keeping those lines of communication open, being willing to give feedback, finding a provider that's flexible, collaborative. What what else? What else should firms keep in mind?
Well, I think one thing that sometimes gets overlooked is, the human element. Technology is huge in this whole process.
Oh, for sure.
But it's important to remember there are real people behind those algorithms.
Yeah, the people using the tech.
The people using the tech, exactly.
It makes a difference.
It makes all the difference. And, you have to consider the experience, the qualifications, the expertise of those people who are putting these summaries together.
So it's not just about fancy software.
It's not just about fancy software.
It's about the people.
It's about the people.
Yeah.
And making sure they understand legal language, deposition, testimony.
So they're bringing their brains to the table.
They're bringing their brains. And that human element, it's what makes those summaries insightful, truly valuable for your team.
So it's not just the company, it's the people in the company.
It's the people.
And are they the right fit? This is starting to make a lot of sense.
Good.
It's not just about finding the cheapest service, the fanciest software.
No.
It's about finding, a partner, a team that's with you, that understands what you need, your priorities, and that commitment to doing things ethically, effectively.
You hit the nail on the head. And that's what we're talking about when we say, finding the right provider. Do your research, ask the tough questions, evaluate your options.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are some of the key things to look for when you're, evaluating these potential providers?
Well, experience is huge. How long has this provider been around? Do they have a track record of actually delivering high-quality summaries?
So you're looking for a company that's been doing this, that has happy clients.
Exactly. And don't just look at, years in business. Dig a little deeper. Look at the team.
Yeah.
What's their experience? Do they have legal professionals on staff who really get it, who can provide that insightful analysis?
So it's the company, but it's also the team.
It's the team.
Yeah.
And that expertise should go beyond just general legal knowledge.
Okay.
Do they have experience in the area of law that your case is focused on? If you've got, a really complex commercial litigation case,
right,
you want to make sure they've got a team that understands that speaks that language.
You're looking for specialists.
You're looking for a specialist, not just a generalist.
Yeah. Someone who speaks your language.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference in, how good those summaries are.
This is good stuff. So we're looking at experience, we're looking at the team, their expertise. What else? What other things should we be thinking about?
Well, technology is a big one.
Mm.
The human element is essential.
Yeah.
But technology is what makes it efficient, accurate, consistent.
So a company that's using the latest and greatest, the AI, the machine learning.
Exactly. I mean, ask them about the tech. What are they using? Do they have, natural language processing?
Okay.
To really understand how language is used, quality control system.
To make sure it's accurate.
To make sure it's accurate. And, features like keyword extraction, theme identification, can they flag those contradictions in the testimony?
So they're using technology, but they're using it strategically.
Strategically.
To get better summaries.
You get better summaries. And that strategic use of technology, it should go beyond just the summary itself, Look for providers that have features that streamline the communication, the collaboration. Do they have secure online platforms where you can upload depositions easily? You can track the progress. You can give feedback. Can it integrate with other legal software that you're already using?
So it's making the whole process easier.
Making the whole process easier. And that can save a lot of time.
Right. Okay, so we've got experience, expertise, tech. What else? What are we missing?
Or security, confidentiality. These are huge. I mean, you're giving these providers sensitive client information.
Oh, yeah.
So they have to have those really strong security measures in place.
It's not just about getting the work done.
It's not just about getting the work done.
It's about doing it securely.
Securely, ethically, absolutely.
So you're looking for a company that can be trusted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask them about their data encryption protocols, how they store that information, their policies on who can access it. Do they have certifications, accreditations that show, hey, we take this seriously?
Right. So you're looking for those signs that they're the real deal.
Exactly. And that attention to security, it has to go beyond just the technology.
Okay.
It's got to be part of the company culture. That commitment to doing things the right way.
So they're not just saying the right things.
No, they're doing the right thing.
They're actually doing it.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Ask them about their training programs, their confidentiality policies,
Okay.
how they actually handle that sensitive information.
So it's about that mindset,
It's the
that
mindset.
respect for that client's information.
Respect, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to build that trust, that partnership.
I feel like we've learned a lot, but I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yeah,
There's so much to think about here.
there is.
Yeah.
And it can feel overwhelming. That's why you got to approach this strategically.
Mm.
Start by, really figuring out what your needs are. What are your priorities?
Yeah.
What level of detail do you need? What area of law are you focused on? What's your budget? So it's
That's know what you want, know what you can afford.
exactly. And once you have that clear picture, you can start researching those providers. There's tons of online resources
Oh, cool.
to help you find companies that specialize in this,
Yeah.
to compare their services, even read reviews from other clients.
They do your homework.
Do your homework, narrow it down,
Mm-hmm.
and once you've got a few, potential providers, reach out to them.
Yeah.
Set up consultations.
Have conversation.
Have conversations.
Yeah.
Ask the questions that are important to you about their experience, their technology, their security protocols, their pricing,
Like an interview.
like an interview.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask for references.
No.
Talk to other lawyers who've used their services.
Get the inside scoop.
Get the inside scoop. See what it's really like.
So do your research.
Do your research. Get all the info before you make that decision.
Due diligence. Makes sense. I mean, this has been really helpful. It's like a roadmap for this whole thing. But, before we move on, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
This idea of how this technology impacts the legal profession.
Right. And that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that a lot of people in the legal world are talking about.
Yeah.
Some people, they see it as a threat.
Mhm.
AI-powered summarization.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to, take away jobs, disrupt how things are done.
That fear of the unknown, right? The robots are coming for our jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's understandable to feel that way.
Yeah.
But I truly believe that this technology can be a good thing for the legal world.
Oh, interesting. So it's not a threat, it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If we can automate these tasks, the summarization,
Mm-hmm.
it frees up legal professionals to focus on the things that humans do best.
Yeah.
Those
Right.
higher level tasks, the judgment, the creativity, the empathy.
It's less about the mundane, more about the strategy,
Exactly.
less about the repetitive tasks,
Less about the repetitive tasks.
more about, the complex stuff.
Imagine a world where lawyers have more time
Yeah.
to spend with their clients, understanding what they need, developing those creative strategies, really advocating for them.
So it's making the practice of law more human.
More human, more focused on the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could have a huge impact, making
Yeah.
it more efficient, more accessible, and
Yeah.
ultimately more fulfilling for everyone involved.
I love that vision. But,
Yeah.
realistically, we're not quite there yet.
No, we're not quite there yet. And there are definitely some challenges.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones is making sure that these tools, these AI-powered tools, are used ethically,
Mm-hmm.
responsibly.
Right. It's not just about the tech, it's about how we use it.
It's about how we use it.
Yeah.
We have to be mindful of things like bias,
Mm-hmm.
fairness, transparency.
Yeah.
AI algorithms, they learn from data.
Right. And if that data is biased, the algorithms are going to be biased.
So it's about making sure this technology is being used to make things more fair, more just, not to make those inequalities worse.
Exactly. We have to be really careful about the data that's used to train these algorithms.
Yeah.
And we have to be constantly monitoring, evaluating, making sure that it's not producing results that are biased, that are discriminatory.
So it's not a set and forget it with AI order.
It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And that commitment to ethical practice, it goes beyond the algorithms.
Okay.
We have to have human oversight.
So we're not just putting all our faith in the machines.
We're not just putting all our faith in the machines. We need human judgment, human accountability. Real legal professionals need to be involved in this process.
So they're reviewing the AI's work,
Reviewing it,
making sure it's right.
making sure it's right, and ultimately making those decisions about how that information is used.
So it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. Humans and AI.
Humans and AI. And I think that partnership, that's what could really change the legal world,
Yeah, I like that.
making it more efficient, more accessible.
Yeah.
ultimately more just.
And, I think for our listener, we've talked a lot about the benefits of this. But I want to hear some real-world stories,
Sure.
How are firms actually using this stuff?
Yeah, we're seeing firms of all sizes really embracing this technology and finding creative ways to use it.
So this isn't just a fringe thing. It's becoming more mainstream.
It's becoming more mainstream, and it's not just for those big firms with, a lot of money to throw around.
Okay.
We're seeing small firms, solo practitioners, using this to compete with those bigger firms that have more
So
resources,
it's leveling the playing field.
leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
And that's changing how law is practiced.
So give me an example. How are firms using this to, make things better for themselves, for their clients?
Sure. So one example that comes to mind is this small personal injury firm.
Hmm.
They were just swamped with cases.
Oh, yeah.
And their lawyers were spending hours and hours just reading through deposition.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So they decided to outsource all of their deposition summarization to a service that specialized in personal injury.
Okay.
And the results were amazing. They got so much time back.
Wow.
They were prepping for hearings and trials much faster, and they were able to take on more cases without, burning themselves out.
So it was good for the firm and it was good for the clients.
Good for everybody.
Yeah.
The clients were getting more attention.
Yeah.
Cases were moving faster.
That's great.
And what was really interesting was they used that time to really focus on client communication,
Yeah.
to develop those strategies.
Yeah, yeah.
They weren't stuck in the weeds anymore. They were able to think big picture.
So it's about using that time strategically.
Strategic.
Not just, oh, we have more time, but let's do something smart with it.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and we're seeing this everywhere, from those small firms to those big, international corporations. They're realizing that this can help them work smarter, not harder,
Yeah.
and give their clients that really good service.
So this is starting to sound less like a scary outsourcing thing,
Right.
or like a strategic
A
partnership.
partnership
Yeah.
to really, level up your team, get better results.
Exactly.
It's about finding the right partner,
Yeah.
someone who understands your needs, your values, your commitment to doing things the right way.
Okay, so we've talked about smaller firms, What about those big firms, the ones with the bigger budgets?
Right. Well, one interesting thing is we're seeing a lot of them use these services to get a second opinion
Oh, interesting.
on their own internal summaries.
So they're doing it in-house, and they're like, just double check.
Double check.
Make sure we're not missing anything.
Exactly. They might have, paralegals, junior associates who are doing the summaries, and then they send it out to an outside service for an independent review.
That's smart.
It is. It's like having an expert consultant,
Yeah,
but for a lot less money.
makes sense.
And we're seeing firms use this for international cases too,
Oh, right.
where you've got those language barriers.
Yeah, that's a whole other layer of complexity.
It is. So you need someone who not only speaks the language, but understands the legal system,
Right, the nuances of it.
the
Yeah.
nuances.
Yeah.
And there are services out there that specialize in that. They've got teams of multilingual legal professionals
Oh, wow.
who are experts in international law.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. It really shows how flexible these services are.
Yeah.
They can be adapted, to fit any firm, any case.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's really, really versatile.
And what's even more exciting is, this is a growing field. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
With all the advancements in AI, machine learning, I think we're going to see even more cool solutions in the next few years.
Okay, so we've talked about like the theory, the big picture of this whole outsourcing thing.
Mm.
But I'm always curious about the real world stuff, the stories.
Sure. Yeah.
Are there cases where this has made a real difference?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one that comes to mind is this really complex commercial litigation case is a patent dispute.
Oh, okay.
And the firm representing the plaintiff, I mean, they had mountains of documents, depositions to go through. They knew they needed a way to make sense of it all fast.
Yeah, I mean that's classic, right? Big case, tons of data, recipe for a lot of late nights.
Exactly. So they decided to outsource the summarization of some of the key depositions to a firm that really specialized in IP law.
Smart.
And get this, the external team, they actually found this subtle contradiction in the testimony of one of the defendant's witnesses.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just about saving time.
No.
It was about getting like an insight they might not have even seen.
Exactly. And it ended up being huge for the case.
Yeah.
I mean, they used that contradiction to really challenge the witness's credibility,
Oh, wow.
strengthen their client's position. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it could make a real difference.
Yeah, you're right. That little detail, outsourcing those summaries,
Mhm.